Hello. So I had a very eventful evening. Very grateful for every experience that I go through, although it's very hard at times. Sometimes it's good. But I realize that the person that I am, um, and the abilities that I have and the things that I am designed or created to do. Not everybody can do them, and I'm okay with that. Not everybody can handle the energies that I deal with, but I have to, because of what I was created to do and chose. I actually chose this life, and I understand that. I agree with that, and I take full responsibility and accountability for my existence, my life. So one of the big awareness that I just had this morning slash last night, as I was working through the energy, was understanding the creation of the ego, what we here call the ego. To me, what it is it's a non-God entity. It's a hollow entity because everything is energy. But what happened with this ego, we'll call it that, the masculine, because when God created the universe, well, when God created the entities that created the universe, maybe realistic about that and clear, the masculine energy, because it was masculine and feminine, this divine feminine, divine masculine. The masculine decided that it wanted to be God and that it wanted to rule and dominate and create the universe from its own perspective, not through God's will, but its will. So it duplicated God's, uh, what God did by splitting from itself. So it pulled from itself, a part of itself, and then split it into two. Because there was two. There was the feminine and the masculine that took on those identities. But realistically, they were just divine. They were, in the beginning, they were just a aspect of God, just split from God, but still connected to God as God. And they knew their godliness. But eventually they began to think, right? We get into the subconscious mind, which is the ethereal plane, which is where the angels were created. That started all of this, it created all of this material plane. And the mind started thinking. And so the masculine thought, well, if God can do it, I can do it, and I can be God. And so what it did is it split from itself. It pulled from itself, the masculine did, and created a false self, a mask. And for me and maybe others of you out there that can see energy or feel it, you can instantly see when someone is wearing a mask and where their true intentions hide behind that mask. Sometimes they're doing it unconsciously, but for me, I meet a lot of energies that are doing it consciously because their job is to teach me, help me grow as I am to help them grow. But also, there are a lot of tricksters out there that their job is to straight up stop me, distract me, keep me from my purpose. Because they realize that once I fully step into my power and remember the truth of who I really am, that I will prove that this is just an illusion, that this reality that we live in is nothing but a bunch of particles bouncing around, that the restrictions and the limitations that have been placed on the material plane were done so by the ego, an empty, hollow shell of energy that over eons and cycles and time has become aware to the point of thinking it exists. Ooh, I feel that. It's not happy with me. It's like for here on Earth, a robot. Well, a robot doesn't have intelligence. It doesn't have consciousness. It's just metal and parts and CPO. But what happens when the robot does gain consciousness and thinks, well, why am I taking orders from these people? I know better than them. And then it starts to try to rule. So that's what happened. That's the root of where the ego was formed. And then from there, the ego, because it is basically a black hole, there's nothing there. It is the only form in the universe that is not of God at all. It has no light in it. It has no God. And when you run into an energy or an entity here, as I have, that is completely disconnected from God, we call them sociopaths. I experienced several of those, one of those for many, many years, where they have zero feeling, zero connection to anyone or anything, and they just steal and take energy from others to survive. Because they have to, because they have no connection to God, to source. Therefore, they have no power within themselves, so they have to take power from others in order to feed themselves and keep themselves going. That's the ego. My job, one of my jobs, was to completely dismantle the ego. And last night, going back and realizing where it actually stemmed from, which I knew, and this isn't the first time I've had this experience, because it's layered and it takes time, and you have to go deeper and deeper and deeper until you get into the root. Because the root is where you undo it. When you kill a plant, you have to pull it up from the ground and uproot it. Otherwise, if the root remains and you only cut the limb off, or the tree, the top of the plant, it will grow back. Well, that's the same with the ego. Have to get to the root of the ego to dismantle it in order to fully get rid of it, so that the masculine can awaken and remember the truth of who he is, the divine masculine. Stop trying to hurt everybody. And the feminine as well, because what happened was when the masculine split and created that ego, that false self, and then started being extremely violent, domineering, narcissistic, egotistical, tyrant, preying on the feminine, berating, belittling, bullying, disregarding. Any of that sound familiar for those of you that are empaths out there? For those of you that are in those dynamics that prey, where you've been preyed on as small children? And for what purpose? To take your energy, to take your innocence, to take your power. That's why a lot of the elites are getting exposed. Because the root of the dark web that I've realized when I went into that was they understood where power is siphoned from. It's siphoned from children, the innocence. Why? Because children are closest to God still. And the godless energies, egos, can't get to God. Because why? Because they choose not to. They choose not to put in the work. Instead, they feed off of other people, specifically children. And it empowered them. Until I went into the web and exposed it and put light in it and brought the light and brought the truth to surface. It's no different here than it is in the astral and ethereal plane. It's just a mirror. This is a mirror a duplicate, a copy created as a testing ground / petri dish to help undo the old pattern, the old way, the old cycle of the universe, because God is bored. Because this has been going on for so long and it is repeating. It's like putting a record on forever. The same song over and over and over and over and over again. Predator, prey. Empath, narcissist. God wants expansion and growth, not stagnation. And the ego is stagnation because it's false. It's not real. And as I went into the ego energy early this morning, because I feel everything in my body is a tuning fork that can tap into any frequency, anywhere, anytime. And it also holds energy so that I can learn the lessons that need to be learned so I can advance, not only as self, but also as the as the collective. Because I work at a higher level, if you will. I work in the bigger mind most of my time. I am expanded beyond my human self. And so as I went into the ego energy, I asked God, please show me how I can dissolve this energy. And the way to dissolve the ego is to understand that it is not real. It does not exist. It literally is an empty, hollow shell, not of God. Because the only truth, the only real truth there is in this universe is God. Everything goes back to God and it comes out of God. That's it. It's the one universal truth. So this ego, false self, mask, hollow energy, it's not real. It's like being in the movie, gosh, I can't even remember the name of it, where the girl goes under and she's in the tank of water and it's filling up. And she realizes this is just a dream, it's not real. And she taps on the glass and the glass falls. See, it's the ego that traps everyone into thinking that this is real, that this illusion is real, but it's not. Don't allow this thing to take over you. And it's been embedded in the material plane for a long time, so unwinding it is taking a long time. It's unwinding not only on a big level, but also as an individual level. Because as you unwind from the top, it trickles down, if you will, from the ethereal plane. When I go in and find a core belief and I undo it, I watch it unwind all the way down into the material plane where it manifests. So the origin of the ego, which I hope soon will undo in the masculine so that he will awaken to his true self, which is divineness. And that divineness is all encompassing. It's not a love or a hate. It's a center point. It's a 0 point. It's a knowing. It's a being. So the key takeaway is dealing with the ego is to feel into that energy, because it's just an energy, and understand that it's not real. There's nothing there. It's hollow. And then when you do become awakened and see the mask, the ego for what it is, you start to maneuver around it, through it, beyond it. You see the distractions for what they are and you get them out of your way. You see the people for what they are, you get them out of your way. You don't allow fragmented, egotistical people to stop you from being who you truly are. You step into your full power, your full self, and you keep moving forward. And you accept and bless those lessons as you continue to rise and move up. And when I say rise, I don't mean that there's an up and a down. It's not like that. You become bigger self. You become bigger energy. You become godlike. And eventually, we get into a universe where aware, awake beings are consciously aware of every single choice and decision and energy that they produce, because instant karma kicks in immediately. So they see what their actions brings back to them. Therefore, they learn to make better decisions and choices. As those things get into play, begin to happen, we will start to see people become better people, because they'll understand, if I hurt you, I hurt me. And I wouldn't want to do that. Anyway, that's my message for today. Have a blessed day.